now my mind is blown. No surprise, guess I should have known. Oh, now my mind is blown. No surprise, guess I should have known. You got control of me, break my barricades. Walls are crumbling, grounds they shake. You came to save, but it's way too late. Every single time you say I cave.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Neurodivergent News, where we are redefining what it means to be neurodivergent. It just means different, not damaged. I am Deanna Brakefield, the owner of Lionheart Kingdom Marketing and your host. Today I have with me a woman who has many accomplishments to her name. She started her own NPO, she has her own podcast, and she has somehow found the time to write 7 children's books. Miss Sarah, please say hi and introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Deanna. It's such a pleasure to be here. I am Sara Bradford, also known as SJ Childs, my fancy pen name and my host name for my podcast. And basically, it was all born out of the understanding and desire to educate my fellow community members on the special, talented, amazing gifts of my neurodiverse children. Also, to find out later in life of my own neurodiversity and wrap it up into one big, beautiful present of, educating others.
So, obviously everybody's journey starts at a different place. It sounded to me when we spoke before like yours started with your son.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. He was diagnosed in 2011. He was 16 months old and 11. And at the time I was also pregnant with our second child. When he was born, we used to joke, he was the perfect baby, never made any noises, was easily um relaxed and calmed down and never really thought that, we would have any issues. And so it wasn't until, of course, he was uh, in his toddler ages that the pediatrician had noticed the, lack of eye contact, the lack of spoken words, and some other milestones that he was missing developmentally. In my eyes, I had started using the Your Baby Can Read program, and I was bringing him a child who was reading at 11 months old and was able to comprehend these flashcards and do the actions, even though there was no spoken word. I knew that he was understanding this information.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, he redirected me and said, yeah, but we need to see him doing all of these other things. I'd like to get him tested for autism." Of course, at the time, they gave him a diagnosis of PDD-NOS, pervasive developmental delay, not otherwise specified, which basically means he is too young to get an autism diagnosis. Of course, as time went on, we got early intervention when he was 2 or 3. I guess right after that diagnosis, we were able to get him into some wonderful programs in preschool and kindergarten. And then that is when the support stopped and public school decided they could no longer provide him an education due to his academic skills. When he started speaking, and this is extremely individual, and I really want to preface that first off, is that I had been a medical paralegal prior to having him. And I was very, I knew how to do research. I understood medical terms. And there was a lot of buzz at the time back in the early 2000, probably 12 or 14, about gluten and dairy and the effects that they could have on an autistic individual. So I did my research and I came to my own conclusion that the proteins of gluten and dairy, the casein, were possibly causing inflammation in my child, and I removed those items. The first week I removed the case and the milk, he said 50 words in that week. He had been completely non-speaking. He was 4.5. And here we have this child who's consumed so much information and has shown us that he, number one, has a photographic memory and can recall things and recreate things from memory, but also has learned this vocabulary that he now doesn't really know how to use, but has it. And so he shared us all these words that he had, so it wasn't like, "Hi, mom, I love you." It was camera, escalator, boots, just these random statements from him. Um, and it was kind of through the early intervention and those kind of programs that we started recognizing that, we needed to try and understand how to enter his world, as I'm sure you hear from so many autism parents.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was really lucky that I had, first off, loved the idea of early childhood education. And secondly, found enough um, products for him to be able to use at his own discretion and his own time, that he self-taught him first through maybe 8th to 10th grade before the age of 6.
Wow.
So we went into first grade, like I had said, and they said, well, he does algebra and we can't teach him that. And I laughed jokingly, thinking, number one, all of your teachers probably have a college education. I'm sure that they could do this. Number two, why wouldn't you have a program in place for a child with these types of abilities? He's not going to be the only one in existence that comes up with this. Why not have something in place so that when the next child comes, it's already a program that's already created? But
Right.
they didn't seem to have that idea. And unfortunately, even with my law uh, experience, I still was devastated and felt isolated from my school and felt like they had just turned their back on us completely. So I instead of, taking the route of suing the school district and everything, which I could have, I just took it upon myself to start homeschooling him. And that's kind of, where it all began. And it was when he was 8 years old, we took him to a psychologist to get an IQ test.
Hmm.
And we were there, we were paying out of pocket. We just really were interested to see what type of information we could get. But the information didn't come back as we had hoped. And we left without an IQ number because that wasn't a possibility. We left understanding that he had autism, ADHD, and a global developmental delay. And he was profoundly gifted, which is just all very confusing mix of things together.
Very heavy.
Yeah, very heavy. And so I sought out an online school that was accredited so that he could, get the credits and things he needed. And we just took that route and found, classes and things. He did attend school for as long as he could, but at about the age of 12, he was already speaking 10 to 15 different languages. He was doing physics. He was doing just calculus, things beyond what even the online school could provide for him. And so, unfortunately, with that also came the kind of non-compliance of him not doing the testing, not doing the classes, and we just had to stop. It literally ended with nothing. Like, there's no diploma, there's no what do we do next? It's just been 2 years of nothing. And I'm trying to sort it out and figure it out. I'll get there. I think I have some things in mind and found some resources, but this age is really tricky and a lot of resources stop when they aren't in elementary school anymore.
It's just heartbreaking. But
No.
is he thriving?
Yes. Oh my gosh, thank you. Yes, he's thriving. And I will tell you that one of the biggest like secrets, if you will, I don't know, that really helped us with success is when I stopped listening to society's ideas of everything that ever needed to be or ever had existed, and I started following and watching what my child needed. And what he needed was uninterrupted sleep in the craziest cycle you could have ever imagined. I like to refer to it as the moon cycle, 2 weeks in the day and 2 weeks in the night. But how do you even, that's not even acceptable. How can you go to school, get a job? Like, that's not possible, but it is. You just have to be creative in the ways that you do it. Of course, if he's homeschooling, I can teach him at any time of day I want. I don't need to do it from 9 to 3 every day, and I was starting to see that this kiddo was displaying a lot of the same behaviors as his dad. And in that IQ test that I had mentioned, and I mentioned that because it was during that ADOS test, my 750th ADOS test, feels like that I recognized, oh my gosh, my husband has Asperger's. My husband is on the spectrum. Here it is. Ding, 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 ding. And all of these, things lined up, and all these just was this amazing understanding of all these accommodations that I'd provided for this man that I'd loved for 20 years and, just unconditionally, and how easy it was going to be to provide those same accommodations for this child that was just like him. So it really helped me to give perspective to that and to recognize that I have my husband has a daughter, and so I raised a stepdaughter. She's 24. So I mean, I've been in this parenting business for 20 years now. It's a long time to be a parent. I've learned a lot of what not to do. And I think that's the most important lesson sometimes to learn.
Absolutely. So, how did all of this lead to being having your own podcast?
Oh gosh. So when DJ was still in preschool, I started writing a children's book about physical differences because hereditarily, myself and my two children have a physical difference called outer ear microtia. And it's where we have these little tiny ears that look like baby's ears, basically, that never grow. They just stay the same size your whole life. We don't have the upper portion of the ear. We just have like a lower portion in the earlobe. So
Okay.
and through time, I had a brain scan and some reflex testing, and I have found out that I actually hear 1 second longer than typical people out of both ears. So I think what it did is it basically, if you were to put like a cone in front of your ear, like a cone shape, it kind of dials in certain tones or, sounds. That's basically what it did, was like heightened sounds and things. It's very interesting. But I started writing this book because when I was growing up, I was always bullied and called little ears for like my whole childhood. And I didn't want my kids to go through that. I didn't want them to feel like their one physical difference, different from other people, was defining to who they were as a person. So
Right.
I wrote these children's books, and the teachers and friends and families just loved it. And they said, "Oh, you have to keep doing this." So I wrote a bunch, wrote 7. And to everyone's surprise to find out, I actually sent them to at least 100 publishers. And I got no's from 100 publishers. And nobody thought that special needs education was necessary
Mhm.
for the marketing, whatever. So I self-published all 7 books, and I still have 3 that I'm working on that will be available hopefully within the next year. But they're all just so, each of them is about somebody special in my life, whether it's my child or a friend who has Down syndrome. And one of them is even about me particularly. It's a little worm with anxiety. That was my childhood experience, anxieties. I really just wanted to help kids, number one, identify if they did have something like anxiety, something like maybe dyslexia. How do I identify that? How do I know? How do I get help for those things? Those are things that kids need answers for. They need support, and they need to know how to identify them for themselves. So that's kind of where the idea of the books came from. And then I started going on to other people's podcasts to market the books, and people just said, "This is great. You should start your own podcast." There
Okay.
yeah, so I guess I should tell you the name S.J. Childs. That was a play on words for my pen name, for my author name, because I thought all these other authors, have these initial names. I need one of those. So that Sarah Jean is SJ. And the Childs is because I wanted to be known in the like children's genre, basically. So SJ Childs. So that was kind of my play on words with that. And I know, and some people are like, "Oh, is that your last name?" I'm like, "Nope, nothing to do with it." Couldn't be anything further. Yeah, it came funny. So when we decided to do the podcast, I mean, we tried to, think of what kind of a name would represent us, da 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 da. And then I just thought, well, I already have created this persona, if you will. Let's run with it. Let's just stick with this name we've already created as a business and go with it. And so
Right.
it just continued, and SJ Child's podcast was born, and we are 292 episodes in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
What am I doing guessing you? You've got all of the experience here. Oh my goodness.
It's been amazing. I mean, I can't tell you. Like, I think and of course, I mean, I've been so lucky. I've had Temple Grandin, Danny Bowman, Carrie Magro, Ron Sanderson, Stephen Mark Shore. They're all good friends of mine now. Rachel Barcelona, just amazing advocates, huge, people in the autism space now. And it's been so wonderful. And I can tell you this funny little thing that happened is that when I was first, starting and looking for guests to invite, of course, there was some that, I was just so nervous and
Uh-huh.
just shaking in my boots. And it wasn't until I decided it was Saturday Night Live, and Elon Musk had come out and said that he had Asperger's and that he was on the spectrum. And I thought, oh my gosh, what an amazing conversation. Would he have a conversation with me? I mean, I'm nobody, basically. No, that's not true, but don't include that. But, to him, I would be like just little tiny spot on a something. So when I got enough courage to email Elon Musk and ask him to be on my show, I never heard back from him, but I'll tell you what, I was never afraid to email anyone ever again. I had more confidence. I was like, if I can email him with enough confidence that he could come, anybody could be a guest, like at this point. So it really just gave me this, do the hardest thing first and then everything easy will come. So it was kind of neat.
I mean, what's the worst he could have said? No?
Yeah, right? And he didn't say anything. So that's even better. He might even say yes someday.
Maybe. Hey, I will absolutely listen to that episode if he shows up for you.
I agree. I think that would be so neat.
So, this is the point where I normally ask what I call my rabbit hole question. I stole that name from Fred McMurray, our wonderful producer at K-Fred. But there is a stereotype, obviously, that autistics and ADHDs and neurodivergents in general, we develop strange and unique hobbies. So, what would you say one unique hobby is that you have developed either because of your son or yourself?
That's a great question. And I think it's really interesting because my husband, I would say, is our unique hobbyist. He always has a hobby. That's been kind of like a talking point in our relationship, is that he has always been the hobbyist and I never really have enjoyed. I guess I don't it's so hard to say. I don't see myself fixating on the types of things that or the way that he does, basically. He does it so much differently than I with so much more passion. So I would say I guess my ADHD loves me to start so many projects. I mean, I have about 5 to 7 books unwritten, like not finished right now. Um, adult books, children's books, uh,
Okay.
so many things. I think that I guess the thing I enjoy the most and I really find pleasure in is actually graphic art. I love creating things in Canva.
Okay.
And if people give me like they need a design, I will do 20 in the first 5 minutes. Like I thrive in those, like, somebody it's so interesting. I was this might kind of sound out there, but I was listening to a tarot reading the other day that I had, chosen a deck of cards or whatever. And in it, the woman said, you always like to do things that everyone else thinks are hard. If somebody says, no, you can't do that, I'll do it and make it easy. I'll do it and like I'll get it done. I don't know what that is. So there's my there's what I like to do. I like to get the hard things done that people think can't be done. Like, who has 7 books, a business, a nonprofit, a podcast, and is still just a stay-at-home mom?
Okay, so you're the challenge taker. Got you.
I am.
Okay. Yes, I am. I completely understand that mentality. This show itself is the result of that mentality. So
Yeah.
you are in good company.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I really and I really I've always not been jealous, but been like a little bit wishing that I could have that same passion as he has for the hobbies that he has had in the past.
Mm.
But for me, I guess it comes down to overall, I would say I'm a champion of justice. I want to see fairness. I will fight for fairness. I will stick up for those who aren't being cared for or, looked after in society. That's what I want to do.
Well, that is a perfect segue into my next question. Tell us about NPO.
Yes. So it's still a baby. So it hasn't done anything yet. It just has a name and exists. But that's okay. I mean, it's a start. And I think that that's something, like I just said, that I'm willing to start things, not knowing where they are going to go and learn as I go. And it will either grow or it won't. And I'm okay with that. Like at this point, it is called the SJ Childs Global Network. And right now, my website is being redesigned and built to accommodate that a little bit better. So there'll be more resources and opportunities. But really, I just really wanted a place for number one, people to feel like they could come to get resources for whatever thing I have created so many courses and so many things, whether it's police training or educational training for teachers or inclusion training for teachers to teach typical children.
Mhm.
There's just so many versions of things that I've done. And so I'm excited to have the website and to have kind of that availability because right now my website's just I've created it. It's very amateur, but you got to start somewhere. So this next one is being built by a professional and it looks incredible and I'm really really excited about the opportunities I'll be able to take in the future. Um and of course I wanted to create a space for donors and sponsors to feel like they were really adding value so that I wasn't just asking people for money to run these events, to have these autistic speakers so that I could get paid. That's really not what any of it is about. Like I could care less about those things. I know I should care more being a business owner, but really it's so important for me that the information gets to the people who need it. And I think that by doing the events that I've done 5 amazing events, the 1 in 44 tour, the safety summit. These are all autism events that I've done and basically invited autistic advocates from around the world to come and virtually and have these summits with me. And they've been such an amazing, amazing events that turn into what a great friend of mine loves to call Love Fest. So that everybody just shows up, they tell their story, the audience interacts with them, they leave feeling heard, seen, valued. And then on top of that, opportunities come from those things. Other people will hear their speeches and say, oh my gosh, this guy would be a great animator. I'm totally getting a hold of him. And so many opportunities have come from these events to the speakers that I've had, I couldn't ask for anything more. Just my heart is overflowing knowing that these advocates who are going up against so much, speaking their truth, telling their vulnerable stories to the world, they deserve like the recognition. And that's what they're getting. And I'm just so happy with that.
Well, Miss Sarah, if somebody were interested in participating in one of your summits in the future, how would they get more information?
Yeah, sjchilds.org is my website now. There is a contact form, so you can always reach out to me. You can Google SJ Childs and or Sarah Bradford and SJ Childs. If you do it together, way more stuff comes up. There's an English woman named Sarah Bradford, so all of her things come up first, but she's like an English author or something like that. So, but yeah, you can Google that. You can get a hold of me. I'm on all social medias. I'm not on Snapchat. I don't really like that or prefer to be, but I'm on everything else that I guess everybody adults use.
I love that you make the distinction between what adults use and what teenagers use.
Right? I'm like, I don't even understand that yet. I can't.
My teenage son told me that Facebook is only for old people, and I went,
Yeah.
"Excuse me?"
I know. I try to use Instagram as much as possible. I'm not great. And I do have a TikTok channel that my lovely husband, who has never had social media, who should run his own social media marketing company, had actually has my worked my channel for the first few months that it was open and got me 11,000 follows.
Wow.
So happy, yeah, he's like this secret social media marketer, construction worker.
That is a unique combination right
Yeah, funny. And really, he actually has zero. He's never had any social media. He does have a YouTube channel, but it's for our cats, you know?
there.
And they have 60,000 subscribers.
Okay, maybe I need to hire your husband. We'll talk later. We'll talk later.
Isn't that crazy? Oh, funny.
So, anyway, it has been absolutely wonderful having you today. Do you have any last thoughts for our audience?
I guess some great words of advice that I would leave are a quote that I love to say that I use a lot is a little bit of knowledge will turn fear into understanding. And I think that that just covers so many things. And another thing I think that it's important for people to understand is that behavior is communication. You have to be curious enough as an adult or individual, for the individual you're working with to uncover what that communication might be through their behavior. So I think that that's really eye opening for so many people when they recognize that maybe, my kid being sassy to me isn't something they're doing personal, but they're having, an effect like they're catching a cold. It's so crazy to really understand the power of our bodies and how it can affect our behaviors, but then to really help children sort those things through and realize that they're not bad humans, that they have behaviors that aren't understandable, but that doesn't make them any less dignified or human. So, yeah,
That is really lovely. I really like that.
thanks. I hope that it really like rings in minds of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it has been so great having you today. If for anyone that's listening, if you'd like more information about Miss Bradford slash Miss Childs, her social media links will be available in the blog post associated to this episode. This has been another episode of Neurodivergent News on K-Fred Radio. We have enjoyed having you, and hopefully we've given you food for thought. We will see you next time. Have a glorious day.